All right, welcome to Bayou Time. This is a special Bayou Time. This is one of those segments, especially if you're on Facebook or YouTube, that you're going to want to share with all of the constituents in Terrebonne Parish because it deals with the flooding maps, it deals with FEMA, it deals with a lot of things. There's been a lot of information going around this parish that is not correct. And they have some people in a panic from what I hear. Some banking institutions were also very fearful because they thought we had options when it came to these FEMA maps and whether the parish would sign off on it, accept it, or fight it. It's a very controversial situation, but it's one that warrants a full half hour of Bayou Time. So joining us now is the parish president of Terrebonne Parish, Mr. Gordon Dove. Gordy, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me, Martin.
All right, so the problem is I'm looking at this letter that was dated July 28th from FEMA, and Rachel Sears, the director of the Floodplain Management Division, the Mitigation Directorate of FEMA, sent you a letter. But before we go to this letter, this is not a first-time FEMA situation. We can go back to the Claudia administration, 2008, when similar situations arose. So this has been ongoing for a while. Am I correct in saying
Yeah,
that?
Martin, it started in 2008. I believe the parish first rejected the maps in 2009. We rejected and objected to the flood to the different flood areas.
And rightly so, probably.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. I mean, just like we objected, we objected in 2021 to the flood maps, and because we've been, since then we've been working on our own models, our own storm surge models, and remember the core FEMA cut everything off 2019. I took office in 2016. So less than 3 years, anything was built from 2019 on, they would not give us credit for. So naturally, we're going back and try to get credit because we've since then built 30 pump stations, the levee board's done levees, we've lifted levees, we've added floodgates. So we want all the credit in there. So this is not over with. You know, this is, we had to accept these maps or face consequences of no flood insurance at all. This wasn't a choice, you know?
Well, there's some in the community that have been actually, and I want to get this straight because this is important. A lot of people, a lot of realtors are panicking. A lot of bankers are panicking because some of them assumed that they had options or the parish government had options. I've read over this letter and I want to go over it with the parish president because nowhere in this letter, let's just tell it like it is, from FEMA, does it say, we'd like to sit down with you and negotiate a time frame. She's pretty direct in that she will shut the parish off from any kind of flooding program.
And if you lose your flood insurance, banks cannot lend you money because if it's a regulated, federally regulated loan institution, which all banks are, or federally guaranteed Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation, FDIC, they cannot lend money if you're in a flood zone, if you don't have flood insurance.
But let me ask you, and before we pull up the first bullet point, because we have a few bullet points that we're going to talk about. Does it concern you that for whatever reason, I don't care if somebody thinks they're right or if they're using it for whatever leverage they could use it for, that this is alarming to a lot of institutions, especially banks. We all know how important banks are to Terrebonne Parish. We have some of the finest banks anywhere in the country right here in Terrebonne Parish. Very responsible people, responsible boards. This sent alarms to the banks, didn't
Yeah, and more, the banks all have this letter, and you know, it was sent to the banks. I'm on the bank board. I mean, so we're aware of it, and remember, it's not the end of the world if you're in a flood zone because you have, we're going to show as the session goes on, how you could change your rating of the area you're in. And it's called LOMAR, and we're doing what's called CLOMAR with community rating, where we're working on a big area that we thought that we had objected to. So, and we have engineering firms and consulting firms working with that.
And let me ask you, before we take our first break, this is not to be confused with FEMA 2.0.
No, 2.0 is bad. Is really bad because I mean, 2.0 you lose you lose your grandfather status under 2.0, and next week we're actually going to federal court. 39 parishes, 10 states, led by Jeff Landry. You know, the Attorney General Jeff Landry and Liz Morrell, who works with them, and we're going to federal court, which I will be there.
I am holding a letter that I received. It's dated July 28, 2023, certified mail, return receipt requested to Gordon E. Dove, Parish President, Terrebonne Parish Consolidated Government, and it gives the address, so that is proof that he got it directly. It's from Rachel Sears. If we go to the next page, Aaron, there you go, Rachel Sears, who is the Floodgate Management Division of FEMA. Now, I want to, this is proof to everybody who says there wasn't a letter, that you actually received a letter.
Right, and she's head of the Floodplain Management Division of FEMA, and she is the director.
Yeah. All right, so let's go. I want to pull up the first bullet point, which we prepared for you, and I'm going to read it, and I'm going to get the comments of the parish president. Here it is. Terrebonne Parish Consolidated Government must adopt floodplain management measures, such as a floodplain management ordinance that meet or exceed the minimum NFIP requirements, copy enclosed, by September 7th, 2023, to avoid suspension from the NFIP. If suspended, your community becomes ineligible for flood insurance through the NFIP. New insurance policies cannot be sold, and existing policies cannot be renewed. That is alarming.
And again, signed by Rachel Sears.
Right.
And that's telling us we had to, and remember, it has to lie over for 2 weeks, so we had to go to the council, and the council voted 8-1 to go ahead and.
But you didn't have much time. You got it. The council had to have the 2-week period, so you had a week really to get everybody together, have a special meeting, and vote on it.
Right, and more, the FEMA is like the Corps of Engineers. This is the federal government. You do it their way or the highway. We lose flood insurance of any magnitude in Terrebonne Parish, we are financially devastated. I mean, banks cannot lend money. I mean, you had to vote, and we had to get this done by the 7th. Now, this is not the end of the world. Actually, some places became no flood zones. Some became non-flood zones. Some areas rose a foot. Some went down 2 feet. It's
your chance to actually lobby, isn't it?
Right. The bayous got hit the hardest. Down the bayous got hit hard.
Yeah.
And of course, we're fighting that as we speak, you know.
All right, so let's do this. I want to bring up another bullet point if we can. Here's the next one. In addition, all loan individuals obtained from federally regulated, supervised, or insured lending institutions that are secured by improved real estate located in the SFHAs are also contingent upon the borrower obtaining flood insurance coverage on the building. So explain SFHA. We were talking about that before the program.
That's special flood hazard area, and that basically says a bank cannot lend you money if you're in a flood area. If
you don't sign this.
If we don't sign this.
Right.
I mean, this is a no-brainer. And you know, anyone out there that's spreading anything different absolutely doesn't know what they're talking about. I wish they'd come talk to me instead of making this stuff up, because there's a lot of misinformation going on and being passed out there by certain individuals, and it needs to stop. This is what had to be done. Now, we are trying to change areas an area at a time. But some people did okay on this. Some people are thinking that everybody got slaughtered on it. No, but we went in there, we went area by area, and we objected to it a couple of years back.
So y'all gonna lobby because you built pump stations, you built floodgates, you built higher levees. Y'all gonna try to dismantle it area by area.
Yes, sir. That's exactly right.
Okay, very good. Let's bring up another bullet point. In the event your community does not, this is a key one. I want y'all to listen carefully. In the event your community does not adopt and/or submit the necessary floodplain management measures that meet or exceed the minimum NFIP requirements, I must take the necessary steps to suspend your community from the NFIP. This letter is FEMA's final notification before your community is suspended from the program. She ain't playing around here.
Signed, Rachel Sears, Director.
Right.
And she said, I must take the necessary steps to cancel us.
So how can anybody, it baffles me, because how can anybody misconstrue this and say that there were options? I'm hearing reports that some people are saying we could have got this suspended for 2 years. Was that even an option?
Some people make up twisted ideology politics, and they ought to be ashamed of themselves, because this is a matter of public record. It was vetted at the council. This was all read at the council meeting when it was voted on, and anyone going out with anything different is downright lying to the public or lying to whoever they're talking about, and they ought to be ashamed of themselves. I mean, this is very serious.
Well, she was very serious. I can guarantee you. She didn't mince any words, and certainly anybody, you can play politics with a lot of things, but people's flood insurance is now one of them.
Remember this, Martin, the can was kicked down the road for 15 years, and they finally said, that's enough. And they said, you're going to sign it, but you're still allowed to come back and fight for the certain areas that they went up higher on, on flood elevations.
Well,
So this fight is far from over. 2.0 is a lot, is what is the biggest step we need to get over the hurdle because of the grandfather clause.
Correct me if I'm wrong. This is not the end all to this. Y'all were mandated. Ms. Sears said, sign it or lose it. Y'all signed it, 8-1 vote, but it's not the end of it. You get to fight your case.
And we've already been fighting it. Right. We were fighting it long before we signed this. Like I said, this goes all the way back to 2008. And after 15 years, they said, sign it. And remember, they also told Lafourche Parish, but where Lafourche got a reprieve is they made a mistake and they issued the official notice on the non-official newspaper. And so there was a technicality that they were able to extend theirs. And I hope they get to extend it for 2-3 years if they want. I mean, that's our friends over there.
Right.
But they have an official journal that they had to notify the public on official notice.
I can't believe FEMA made a mistake.
They made a mistake in Lafourche, but they didn't in Terrebonne.
I can't believe FEMA made a mistake.
So we were stuck with this.
Let's bring up another slide. Y'all have this on y'all.
This is on our website. And if you go to tpcg.org/floodplain, PLAIN, it'll explain everything you need to do for your property.
New flood maps for Terrebonne Parish go into effect September 7th, 2023. That's the first one. And then here's a good question. How do I find out if I'm in a special flood zone? How do they do that? They go to the map, right?
Maps are available to view.
Okay.
But will not be effective till September 7th, which has already come.
Right, correct.
And to view a PDF version of the flood maps, go to tpcg.org floodplain, then click flood maps, and then to view an interactive flood map, scan the QR code, which as you see up on your screen, and then the next one, according to the flood map, I'm in a special flood hazard area.
Let's go to the next one if we can, Aaron.
Oh,
right
I'm
there.
sorry.
There you go. All right, that's okay.
Yeah, okay. And then the person looks at it and says, okay, according to the flood map, he or she is in a special flood hazard area. What does that mean? If you have a federally backed mortgage, you may be required to have flood insurance, which we all know that. Check with your insurance agent and lender if you have a mortgage. They will work with you to get appropriate flood coverage for your property. And the next one,
Yeah, what elevation will I be required to build to?
right, the interactive maps on LSU's Ag Center's website will show the minimum flood elevation requirements for new construction. In addition, on August the 1st, 2023, the state of Louisiana building codes began requiring 1 foot additional elevation, 2 feet for critical facilities of education. Now, if you don't understand this, contact our permit office at 985-873-6567. What happened is the state passed an additional foot as of August the 1st. That's nothing to do with FEMA. That's the state passed that.
So on the error part, it says error, if you feel that your property was mistakenly placed in a special flood hazard area, you can fill out a letter of map amendment LOMA.
That's right. It's Loma, and then you have to meet the eligibility
Eligibility.
set by FEMA, and a lot of people have had their lots, their elevations lowered. Now, what the parish is doing is we're doing one called CLOMA, which is areas we're doing ourselves to try to help people out. We've been doing that.
Okay. So there you go. So bring the next slide up just to see, Aaron, the last one. What is TPCG doing right there? Terrebonne Parish is working hard on a community letter of map revision. This will allow Terrebonne Parish, I should say, to publish flood maps that include the most recent flood mitigation measures. TPCG must comply with FEMA's flood maps or be at risk of possible suspension from the National Flood Insurance Program. And says a possible suspension. She said y'all will be suspended.
Right.
So she was a little more hardline in a letter with about a minute and a half left. So you've been doing a little, I guess, calming the waters down this week with banks and everybody else who are in Terrebonne, trying to teach them and show them that, whoa, slow down. We did the only thing we could do.
Right. I mean, like I said, there's individuals that are going around spreading something they know absolutely nothing about. This is we've been taking it one step at a time. We're doing everything humanly possible. As far as 2.0, that is the whole United States. That's not just us that we're fighting. That's everyone in Louisiana. 2.0, where you're going to lose your grandfather in. So we hoping to get an injunction next week on that. But like I say, I ask the public, please do not listen to someone out there. I don't care if they elected or not elected. They don't know what they're talking about. If they are not, we deal directly with FEMA. Most people don't deal with them. And Chris Pulaski, who runs that office, you're welcome to call Chris Pulaski in permitting or his people, and they'll walk you through anything you need. We'll work with you. We'll show you how to do a LOMA. And like I said, we're doing some steps for ourselves, but beware of people who don't know what they're talking about. It is a shame that someone's spreading that out there.
All right, there you have it, the parish president, right from the horse's mouth. And we'll take a break. We'll come back, share this on Facebook. It's very important.